It is July 19th, 2018. This is the Overdose Talk Show. What's up, everybody? This is Vinnie from the Overdose Talk Show. I'm doing this one alone. It just occurred to me the other day, actually, that we're coming up on the 20s again. You know, and I was thinking about, like, the last time it was the 20s. I bet the people in the 1920s hadn't spent a ton of time talking about the 1820s. I don't know. I've never heard of the 1820s. Have you? What the fuck ever happened then? It was kind of like one steady sort of grind until the Civil War, and then you had the cotton gin, and then all this stuff in the Industrial Revolution, and then social consciousness became a thing, and big cities happened, and everybody did what, you know, and then kind of came into the modern era. You know, the last time the 20s happened, I don't think they really could appreciate the previous 20s quite as much as we can now. Now we know the 20, there was the roaring 20s. It was mobsters, and it was murders in the streets, and it was kind of part of this transition era where, you know, a lot of the populace couldn't afford or didn't have cars. There were not even paved roads a lot of places, but then the higher society was enjoying things that we would even maybe consider to be modern, you know, a couple telephones going on, some cars, some cocaine, you know, some stuff, some good shit going on. We're going to be in the 20s again. What's that? What are we going to say? Is it going to be the we can't just say the 20s. We already have the 20s. We already know what the 20s is. We already have thought about and talked about the 20s. We're going to have some new, is it the 2020s? That's too long. I don't know what we're going to do. But going forward, I guess we'll find out. You know, because they used to call like 1911 through 1919 the teens when I was a kid. Back in the teens, and maybe you had like a great grandparent or something still around that remembered the teens, and they would call it the teens. Nobody calls it the teens now. How stupid would you sound? You know, we're in the teens right now. Well, when would you even say it? I guess you don't even say what you're doing while you're doing. I don't know. Like, did they call it the 20s when it was? They probably did. I don't know. But the teens. Why doesn't anybody say we're in the teens? It's the teens, bro. Wake up. They used to say, "Come on, it's the 90s," when I was a kid. But nobody says, "Come on, it's the teens now." Nobody says that. So what are we gonna do in the 20s? Stay tuned and find out. I want to talk to you people about a bunch of things tonight. The first one, this is for people who have followed the show and who are friends of the show and whoever may be interested. When I started this show, 3 years ago or something like that, 4 years ago even, who knows? I think that I fancied myself as some sort of maybe an Art Bell type of, or at least I was influenced by Art Bell or something like that. And this is what that reminded me. I never talked. We've been off. We haven't done any shows in a while. We haven't talked. Art Bell passed away. The original, possibly the greatest of his genre ever. If you aren't familiar, which I'm sure everyone is, mostly. I mean, this was the pioneer of sort of like paranormal, conspiracy, metaphysical, this type of radio, where if you were fortunate enough back when Art Bell was on Coast to Coast, before he was replaced by the abomination George Norrie, the fucking moron that guy is, or if you ever caught his satellite broadcasts or some of the other projects that he did, you know, it was this feeling back in the day of like wherever you were in the country, maybe you're driving out in the middle of nowhere and all there is church shit and sports talk, and all of a sudden you come across this broadcast, this mysterious thing out there in the middle of the night, you know, whether you're trying to tune it in at home as a kid on your clock radio, as we all had, or you're maybe on a road trip in your early teens or doing something, and you're out there and you would find this thing, and it really felt special because at the time these kind of topics, the pyramids or some paranormal kind of thing, or whatever these topics that almost seem passé now, that we all see everywhere, all these fringe topics. At the time, if you were interested in this kind of stuff, there really wasn't much going on for you. And when you came across this broadcast, it really seemed special, and it was this kind of beacon of, I don't know if I would say truth so much as an interesting alternative to everything you had ever been fed. That was the feeling. It was like I've stumbled across this thing, maybe the powers that be don't even want us to hear it. That kind of feeling. You see what I'm saying? And it was the same kind of feeling you used to have if you remember a million years ago listening to Alex Jones because someone had given you the link and you thought, what the fuck is this shit? Like, nobody's listening to this shit. I'm talking 10, 12, whatever years ago, 15 even, who knows. And it was inspiring. We had to know more about this guy. And over the years, as I kind of kept track of him and stuff, it was a little disappointing to me that he didn't ever kind of settle into another environment where he put out a large volume of consistent content. It was kind of this project, that project. He seemed to have problems working with the corporate bureaucracies and whatever that he had to deal with. And whatever it is, maybe in the modern era, he would have done a cool podcast from his house or something if he was still alive or if he was younger when all that started. Who knows? But the guy was a fucking revolutionary. He was great. And when I very first started, he was one of my original influences. I thought, hey, it would be cool to be this voice in the night. It would be cool to be this thing that people could tune into and sort of feel like they found a home of weirdness amongst all of, you live in a small town where it's shopping centers and stupid malls and fucking retards that go to work and come back and they don't ever think about anything. And you might find this haven of alternative thought. That was the appeal. That was the feeling of it. It was very cool. So I just wanted to say, amidst all the other news and everything that's going on and everything we're going to talk about, Art Bell was the man, and he came out of an era where he had a shitty rock DJ job, and he eventually worked it out to where he was talking more and more, and he beat the doors down for a lot of what's going on today. A lot of the podcast industry wouldn't have had the foothold without having established that there is a market for these fringe topics and this sort of free radio. I mean, when I very first started the show, my old co-host, who we're about to talk to again and catch up with him, he told me, before he was even on the show, he told me, hey, just follow the Coast to Coast thing. Just let any crazy on to ramble for 45 minutes. It's going to be a great time. And that's what I did when I started the show. I would just interview psychics and paranormal researchers and UFO people and whatever. And, what I ended up finding out was that I'm not Art Bell, and I shouldn't try to be Art Bell, and it was way easier to be myself. And so I started kind of catering the show more to my personality, but it doesn't change the fact that he was a great inspiration to me and an incredible broadcaster. If you want to just talk about the technique of broadcasting, if you just want to talk about pacing and drama and also just voice. I mean, he had the voice. He had this great cutting, but present and strong sort of voice. He was the whole package. He was this middle of the night driving through Indiana, lonely highway, can't find shit. All of a sudden, Crackly comes on, and our next guest says that he has identified alien civilizations on the moon. We'll be talking to Graham Hancock coming up next. And you know what I mean? It just had this allure. It just had this feeling. It's something that you could be nowadays, it wouldn't be worth as much. You could be driving down the highway with your fucking iPhone and your whatever the fuck, what is it even now people have? I don't even know. I have an Android from Cricket. I don't know what people fucking have. What is a cliche smartphone? And it's all night. Whatever entertainment you want at your fingertips. It wasn't like that then. It was excruciating for 4 hours, and then you heard this one cool thing, and then you talked about it all night after, and then you would be thinking about that 3 weeks later, and one of your friends would get a book about it and go, hey, check this out. It was more rewarding. Now everything is so disposable, and you drive through the night with whatever you want. If you even came across a coast-to-coast broadcast now, it would fucking be meaningless. It wouldn't be the same. You got to go back. You got to go to the old world, the dark world, where you didn't know shit and you had to wonder, and things were more mysterious and things were less accessible. This was Coast to Coast. This was Art Bell. This was the guy doing it when nobody else was. You see what I'm saying? So that's my piece. I'll never stop appreciating Art Bell. I'll probably every 2 to 3 years for the rest of my life, like I have been since I was a teenager, I'll go through and I'll listen to every single Art Bell I can ever broadcast that I can ever fucking find again, because I drink a lot. I'll forget him again, and I'll listen to him over and over. The guy it was timeless. Maybe only if you're my age or older. I don't know. Will the young kids even appreciate that energy? I don't know. Will the young kids that are 20 now, when they're 50, will they pull up an Art Bell and go, man, the nostalgia? Or will they just go, yeah, this wasn't interesting enough or packed with enough information, or it wasn't vetted enough? Or will they appreciate, maybe it's just for us. Maybe we're the last, if you're like 30, 35-ish, whatever we are. I'm in my mid to late 20s to early to mid 30s, somewhere in there. And if you are like one of us, will those younger kids ever appreciate the driving in the middle of the nowhere using fucking maps? You don't even know if you can make it to the next gas station, and this guy is on the radio talking about HARP or fucking weather weapons, or talking to some loony bin about fucking MK Ultra shit and the Philadelphia experiment and having time travelers call in and all this stuff. Back when you could wonder, back when you couldn't just make everything bullshit in 2 seconds, back when it was rewarding to stumble across a gem. That was Art Bell. You see what I'm saying? And that was what I wanted to be, but I think I was too late, to be honest with you. And we ended up producing what we did. We ended up harnessing our charm, which is that, I know this network of like kind of low class, small town, Midwest crazies, and we make it work, and it's funny for us and it's funny for our listeners. But that Art Bell charm and that idea of just being that lone voice in the night will probably never leave me. So, hey, R.I.P. big guy. What do they say? He's up there. He's taking calls in heaven, or east of the Rockies, up there in what do they call it? Havon. That's what he's doing. Let's get into my show, and maybe one day somebody will wax nostalgically about these days where I was sitting all poor in my fucking apartment talking in this mic that I've had for 12 years. We'll see. I want to get on the phone my original co-host, the one, the only, the Earthling. I think I got him right here.
Looking for a fucking lighter.
There he is, my old pal, the Earthling.
Oh, hey. Hi there, world.
How you doing, buddy?
No, I'm looking for a fucking lighter because I'm trying to smoke these shorts that I got from downstairs that I stole out the ashtrays, at the hotel.
You're trying to smoke some shorts? What kind of crazy kid slaying is that, son?
You pull the filter out the back, and then you can smoke it down to the nub.
Are you outside of the hotel you live in looking for discarded cigarette butts to smoke? So for the listeners who are interested, what has happened since the last time that you were on the Overdose? The last time we talked to you about a year and a half ago, you were living with your friend Dan and hanging out at that house, which I think was kind of a shit show. So what's been going on since then?
Yeah, there's all these kids running around over there, and my woman at the time, which is not my woman anymore, started watching their kids, and so that brought us our way, and that went on for a while until just recently when we had to move out of there because it was being foreclosed on. It's kind of fucked up.
So the bank took the house that you guys were staying at.
Yeah, correct. But they gave my buddy Mike two choices, who was the homeowner. So
your buddy Mike owns the house, and he was he's basically one of your good friend's brother-in-law, right?
Yeah, he was floating. I was floating out ahead for a while.
Okay.
And so he sold the crib. He got like 193 stacks. And obviously, he gave 50 stacks to his wife, so he had like 130 stacks left over.
Okay.
And he was willing to take care of me because after we lost the house, I stayed for a few months at like all over the place.
And you guys are basically like fucking all day, every day drinking buddies. Like, and he's
every day.
And
if
Mike.
Down the roll, I'm down.
So now I have a little insight into this because I've met this fellow Mike, but I'll let you explain it. Mike was a guy that just fell into all this fucking money, and I don't know, a delicate way of putting it might be that he didn't really appreciate it. Like, he didn't really.
No. We blew through it in 2 months, and that's where I'm at now.
Okay, so the reason I want you to tell this story is because you guys blew through an amazing amount of fucking money in a short amount of time.
So okay, sure, go ahead. I need a question. I can tell you what part you want to hear about.
Well, yeah. So when this first started, you would call me up and be like, "Hey, this guy Mike, like, you were always working full time and trying to do something, and it's hard out there, and everybody knows you can barely fucking even survive working full time at a lot of jobs, and you got this guy Mike who's just like, dude, I got you, bro, no problem," and he's like buying these like expensive hotel rooms, and from what you were telling me, he's like tipping Uber drivers like a couple $100 for no reason, just like he's all over the place. The first time, I met him a couple times, and then when we hung out again, he's just like, "Vinny, what do you want? I got you. Just like trying to buy everybody everything, So what was this like for a few months?
So, like, he put me up, and I went to this shit hotel. He was, "Fuck that, dude, you're going over here." So he paid like $140 for Holiday Inn. Meanwhile, he was at the Hilton.
Because he didn't want you. He didn't like that you were staying at a cheap place.
Yeah, right.
Talk right into talk right into your phone if you can, please.
Yeah, he was like, "Fuck that, you're not staying at that fucking shithole. You're staying here." And then he was staying at the Hilton, which was like $5,000 a week.
Right.
For like, and then plus he was blowing gang stuff and whatever, and bringing me stuff and stuff.
That's cocaine for our more slang challenged listeners.
I don't think there's any of those.
Okay. So describe how this guy deals with day-to-day life.
So, like, for example, we go into the gas station and we're chilling. We buy 2 packs of cigarettes apiece. I get one, he gets one, we pay for them. He's like, "Watch this, bro." It's kind of insane. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Watch this. I'm going to make the next 30 people's days. I'm going to make, like, the next 30 people happy." He just pays for the next 30 people's fucking bill.
So he just stood there waiting for people to come in and waiting for everybody in line. He just paid for everybody everything that everybody wanted.
Yeah.
How much money do you think he spent at this gas station?
Well, because he does it all the time. I don't know, like a G. So
he ran through this. Now, this is a dude. He doesn't care about anything. If you meet him, he's a nice guy. He's fun to be around, but he's one of those guys that you get the impression of like, you know what? I'm not going to piss this guy off too much because he'll probably stab somebody. Like, he's got that like weird edge to him, but he just wants to, like, I've seen it. Like, my girlfriend came over and we're partying at the hotel one day, and he goes, "Hey," to her, he says, "Hey, do you need anything? Do you want anything?" And she was like, "Maybe a water or something." And you were like, "Man, you should have said a car because he would have fucking bought it for you." He's just going around like tipping waitresses like $300-$400 and shit, like all this shit for months, right?
Yeah, for months. He ran through a hundred easily in like 2 months.
So your core little group, you guys are fucking drinking and getting wasted all the time, going out and blowing shitloads of money. What does anybody have to show for any of it?
Not a goddamn thing.
And out of $130,000, how much is left?
38 cents.
30 cents, you think?
30 cents. 38.
This is
no,
fucking
38.
unbelievable to me. This is fucking, dude. You told me a few months ago, you were exaggerating a little bit on 2 months, but it maybe might have been like 6. And you told me a few months ago, like, dude, this guy is crazy. Like, you should just come over and party with us. So I would come over there, and this guy was just buying crazy shit all the fucking time. He shows up with a fucking $4,000 JBL sound system in the fucking hotel room. And we're like,
yeah,
what?
then we just had a pot for fucking $250.
He needed us to hook it up. He didn't know what to do with it. So we get it hooked up. And this thing is like, you could do a fucking auditorium show with this fucking thing. Like, it's loud ass shit. And he shows up trying to hook the fucking video games and the CD player and shit. Well, what do we even have now? What am I fucking? I guess you hook your phone up, whatever. He's hooking up music and all this shit, loud as a motherfucker. This guy does not give a fuck. You guys are living in a hotel, and he's just walking around. The first time I went there, also, you guys are all walking around smoking cigarettes all over the hotel, and I was like, "How are you doing this?" And you were like, "Oh, because Mike just gives everybody $200 every time they fucking say anything." Like,
no, that's true. He went downstairs and he was smoking a cigarette. The like number one rule in the hotel is like a super law and everything too. He just went down there smoking a cigarette. I was like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "I just handed that stack. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
what are you gonna fucking do?" You know what I mean? He's crazy.
So you're looking at a guy that has 130 grand and runs through it like he's a multi-billionaire. Like, this is...
Yeah. Nigga rich.
This is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Like, he just did not give a fuck. And now he's broke and he's acting... I saw him the other day, and he was like, "Man, you know anybody to get some blow?" And I was like, "Nah, man." And he's like, "Man, I want to throw down like $1,000 on some blow." And I'm thinking in my head, like, you don't have any money anymore. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, he's completely he's out of his goddamn mind, right? Like,
oh yeah, he's completely out there. He's done. He's completely insane. But he does always have money coming in. Like, he's got he's got cheese. I don't know. It's fucking bullshit because he's like the biggest shit ever. He's my boy. And he just never had to worry about anything, living anywhere, doing anything.
Yeah, this whole thing was like an inheritance, and then he's got like lawsuit money coming in, and he's got like property that he owns somehow. Like, he never really probably in the conventional sense earned it, but like he was kind of left a bunch of shit, and he's just like running through it all like a maniac.
Yeah, it's fresh. Where's the bottle?
Who are you talking to?
Oh, this girl that I live with now. We're not together. I just live with her. She came in here.
All right, great.
Downstairs.
So I'm gonna pause for a second just so I can talk to the listener.
Sorry, she's yelling. She's hollering. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna mute you for a second. You can deal with that while I just talk to the listener. So, our friend the Earthling here, he lives in a hotel room. Okay. And it's an extended stay. It's got 2 beds. It's got a kitchen and a little living room and things like that. This is a goddamn fucking horror show. The other people that live in this place are all complete scumbags. Everybody that lives in the room is a complete scumbag. Our friend the Earthling, now look, this is a decent guy, but he's got scumbag tendencies, same as me. His have maybe conquered him a little bit more than mine have in recent times. And I'm talking about a crack house, dude. That's basically what this hotel is. They live in this place. I'm not even going to say where it is, but they live in this place. You go over there, there's 80 different people through the room in fucking 3 hours, all doing different things, saying different shit, trying to fucking rope you into these weird fucking philosophical conversations and shit. Just an annoying, druggy, shitty fucking depraved situation. That's where he lives. So when you hear people arguing with him in the background, that's kind of what this shit is. I don't know. I guess he just hung up. Let me just dial him back here. But yeah, this is not a place you want to be or you want to end up or any of that shit. you know, it's a sad situation, to be honest with you. And I hate to see my friend kind of caught up in this fucking cesspool. But, like, everything, we go over there, and, like, everything is like, I left a cigarette on the desk. Like, okay, I don't know what happened to it. All these petty fucking shitty arguments. Yeah, what's going on? Are you done with that fucking stupid redneck shit you were doing?
Still trying to figure it out. Did anybody... Do you need me to go down there and do something?
What? Tell us what's going on. You're on the fucking show. What is happening?
You didn't tell me what happened. I guess I gotta go downstairs. So I can never phone.
Hold on. Before you leave, listen. Before you leave, do me the favor for the show. Can you explain what's going on around you?
A girl I'm staying with was downstairs with some guys. You know, we made a trade. They were giving us booze and stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the whole story yet.
So hold on. You're staying with a girl, and she went downstairs to make some kind of trade for some kind of services for some kind of goods, and the guys didn't hold up their end of the bargain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bust ahead.
Okay then, buddy. Hey, look. I want you to have a good time, and be safe. Do whatever you
gotta do. About it, man.
Do whatever you gotta do, I suppose. You know.
That's what we gotta do.
Okay then, good talking to you.
I'm sorry. I have to take over.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll catch you later.
All right, later.
All right. Okay, so that was that. I guess he's a pimp now. I don't know, dude. Who the fuck knows? He used to drive girls as escorts. He used to be the driver, and it was this like fake muscle situation of just like, there is a guy here with me. Like, he told me later, he's like, I wasn't gonna do shit, dude. Like, some guy pulled some shit. Like, I'm fucking out of there. It's not worth my $75 or whatever the fuck he made. But yeah, I don't know. I guess he's like human trafficking now. Great guy, the earthling. It's sad, man, when you watch your friends devolve. You know, this guy used to be a very enlightened, compassionate person who was really concerned with, he was very empathetic, you know, he was very in tune with other people's suffering, and he was very passionate about sort of trying to alleviate the effects of government on society and stuff, and he was a good guy. And now he's just gone so goddamn scummy. It is absolutely nauseating. There's some kind of shit situation going on there, as there is every fucking day, every time I've ever been in contact with any of them, and every time I've ever been over there. So that's my network. That's what we got. These are my friends, okay? This is the Overdose Talk Show. I'll be back in a minute. Hey, don't look away from the train wreck, okay? Stay tuned. Okay. We're back. Hey there, fellas and fellettes. You ever think it was weird there's no female form of fella? Fellettes? That doesn't sound good. Oh no, I know. What's happening there, fellas and bellas? Would you guys... would you think it was annoying if I started every show from now on with going, hey, what's happening there, fellas and bellas? This is the Overdose Talk Show. I don't know, something about that. Just doesn't really fit my style, man. I'm not really that slick. Fellas and bellas. How cool would you have to be to pull that off? Art Bell cool. That's how. Cool. The other day, what was it? A little more than a week ago, I took a little trip, paid a little visit, as they say, to the old Warren Dunes there. on the coast of Lake Michigan in the state of Michigan. Michigan, by the way, I don't know if people ever really think about Michigan. I know they hear about Detroit, but you don't really think about the rest of the state. Detroit is just this one little thing all the way over on the edge. It's fucking practically in Canada. It's kind of its own little bubble, you know, like Chicago is with Illinois. It really doesn't represent the state. Michigan is a redneck-ass motherfucking place. It is hilarious. The highest concentration, I would say, of apocalyptic road signs that I've ever seen in my entire life. It's probably in Michigan. You know the ones where you're driving down the highway and you see one word on a sign, and then a few seconds later you see another word and then another word, and it eventually spells up like, he has returned to judge you. And you're like, what the fuck was that? And then two minutes later, you just see a sign that's like, fucking fireworks, liquor, and guns. Come on in. You're like, all right, man, we are out here now. And I'm over there with most of my family, my two sisters and my mother, and Andrea's husband, David Box. Of course, you all know them. And my gal, Darcy. We all decided to go out to the old Warren Dunes. Now, if you live in a cool place, this would probably seem like a total piece of shit joke to you. If you live basically anywhere but where we live, in the Midwest, you take what you can get. In the very center of in the Midwest here, whatever you call the Midwest, which sometimes is like Minnesota, sometimes it's Oklahoma. I don't really even know what the Midwest actually is, but over here in all the flyover states, they might say, in all this area, there's not a lot of that coolest shit. So if you live on like the coast, you're used to these big open landscapes and beaches and cliffs and rock formations and cool stuff. We just have like this kind of, I don't even know. I mean, it's okay. Like the water is bluish and there's sand, and that's about it, you know. I mean, but it isn't anything that great. The Warren Dunes there in Michigan, it's really not that great. But to us, it's cool as fuck. And we go over there, and you know, I realized as soon as I got there, man, I am really not a beach person. I knew this, but I thought, you know, hey, people go to the beach. It's a normal thing to do. I'll fucking go there, whatever, you know. And I realized as soon as I got there, this shit just isn't. I've probably been to a beach like 5 or 6 times in my life. I don't care about them. I don't. You know why? You know why I don't? Okay, you know why I don't like it? Because it's a giant, bright, glaring fucking death trap where everything hurts you. Okay, the sand is hot as fuck. And if you're like, I didn't even know what sandals were for. The name sand is in them. This is how stupid I fucking am. I've never had a pair of sandals since I was probably 12 years old. What the fuck am I going to have sandals? I don't walk around like that shit outside with no socks, with your toes all exposed to be stepped on or fucking hit with, crowbars or some shit. I'm not walking around like that, fucking all vulnerable. I don't do that shit. I wear thick ass shoes and I'm careful and I go only where I know people. You know, I'm a Midwesterner. I'm like, you know how like some black people will make fun of white people for being like descending of cave dwellers. I will 100% admit to everybody right now, I belong in a fucking cave, in a shady, cool situation surrounded by moss and nice cool rocks, and maybe we'd make a bench out of a log and sit around and you know, we'd go out in the late afternoon perhaps and try to forage or fish or whatever we got to do. We're not out there in the open plains and in the fucking desert under the midday sun. No. This is not my shit. This is not what I come from. I am a cave-dwelling Caucasian. I belong in the modern age in little shitty bars in the daytime, if I, in fact, choose to leave my fucking hovel, you know, at all. Then I really belong somewhere dark and seedy. I don't belong out in the open with my shirt off, By the way, another thing I noticed, there was a bunch of pictures from that day. This is how you know you don't look that good. I didn't even have to ask anybody to not take a picture of me. They just knew instinctively. There were 0 pictures of me. Nobody would dare, because it was just assumed, like, oh, well, look at, this guy does not want to be fucking photographed in this environment. This is not him. So that's how you know you're out of place. You don't look good. So this is not my shit. It's fucking water. The sun. What is with the sun at the fucking beach too? What happens to the sun that just makes it 8 times fucking hotter and worse? Like, it's glinting off the fucking water, just magnifying. And the sand. Oh, I started to say, I don't have sandals. I don't know what the fuck sandals are for. Here's what fucking sandals are for. I'll tell you right now. It's because the sand, I don't know why everyone isn't talking about this all the time. If you go to the beach, I just want to tell you guys right now, in case you didn't remember or know like me, the sand is 1,500 degrees and you're walking across it. I got nice like shoes, I don't have any other fucking things to wear on my feet. So I get up to the sand part and I'm like, oh shit, I can't wear my fucking good shoes out here. I'm gonna get them all full of this fucking debris, and so I take them off and I'm walking barefoot across this goddamn lava pit that people seem to fucking enjoy. I don't understand it, dude. I had a towel. I was walking like 20 feet and throwing the towel down on the ground and standing on it for a rest, and even through the towel, I can feel the heat. And I'm watching like little Mexican kids just like run around and stuff. I'm like, how the fuck are they doing this, dude? I don't know. This thing is a horrible place for a pasty, cave-dwelling Caucasian. I'm telling you, we do not fucking belong on the beach. That's for all of you. Then that's the other thing too, is the fucking everybody's better looking, conventionally speaking, than me. Like, there's all these people out there with perfect fucking, they're worked out, they got their in shape body with their tan skin and their fucking white teeth and their hairline that goes all the way across the front of their forehead, and all this shit going on. I'm like, dude, this is the worst. Dude, I look right in certain situations. I look okay. There's certain situations you could put me in where a girl is like, wow, you look actually okay compared to the other people in this situation. But at the beach, no. Holy fuck. I am a 3. That's generous. I'm a 2.5 or a 3 at the beach, dude. I'm like some fucking goblin that just does not belong there at all. And it got me to thinking, was there another time, maybe, because I feel like, the beach is a cool idea. I don't feel like philosophically or I don't feel like I'm directly opposed to the beach. I feel like I could deal with the beach in another era. There's a part of it being now, like, I feel like when you could, maybe like the 70s, a beach in Michigan would be cool, and you could show up with like, jeans and like fucking what are those things, Chuck Taylors and whatever, and you show up at the beach and you're smoking a joint and drinking some beers with your buddies, and you walk in your stupid shoes all across the beach and have some beers, and for some reason there's girls in like Daisy Dukes that are easy to trick. This like 70s girls that like didn't know shit, like just like, I really like you a lot and I think you should fucking stink up my fucking dick for a minute, like whatever it is. And I'm just thinking about how much cooler that would have been. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm walking up, and sure enough, the first thing I see as soon as I hit like the beach area is these 3 cops in those green shirt cops, or whatever the fuck they are, some forest dicks or whatever the fuck. Some beach police shit, and with like ATVs, and they're standing there fucking talking, and they immediately looked at me like, oh, I don't know if I project this or if I'm looking at them or whatever the fuck. Cops are always looking at me, and I'm walking up, and I notice every single other person, there's like 1,000 people within my eyesight, and everybody else has beach stuff, and I don't know how to go to the fucking beach. So I'm dressed like a 12-year-old at a skate park in Stevens Point, Wisconsin or some shit, like with baggy jeans, black t-shirt, baseball hat, fucking big like DC like skater shoes, backpack full of fucking weed and liquor and shit. And everybody else just looks so fucking beachy. Like everybody had no shirt or a white shirt and swimming trunks on and sandals and stuff. I looked out of place as fuck. So the cops are looking at me the whole time. I'm thinking like, man, this would have been way cooler like 45 years ago. So I awkwardly in front of these cops take off my socks and my shoes and like roll up my jeans. I don't know what the fuck to do at this fucking place. And I start walking to where everybody is. Horrible experience. Sand is hot, like I told you. Fucking burning my fucking feet. And I get out there. And what's going on here? Bunch of fucking Mexican families blaring the same shit I used to have to listen to when I worked in kitchens all the goddamn time. The fucking stupid Mexican radio station with this cheesy ass goddamn fucking like pa shit going on. And we're listening to that shit. And sitting there, you can't even, there's fucking cops riding by on ATVs, like checking people out. I didn't even feel comfortable, like taking a swig out of my fucking bottle of whiskey or any of this shit. We couldn't smoke a joint. We can do fucking anything. We've talked even about, like, could we walk out in the water? There's too many fucking people. You couldn't smoke a joint anywhere. You couldn't smoke shit. We were hitting a little fucking vape pen. You know those things? So we're hitting the vape pen. With the weed oil or wax or whatever is in there, and getting kind of whatever. It's just not what I wanted it to be. And then I get everybody, and finally I'm like, let's go in the goddamn water. No, everybody wants to sit. This is the other thing. Everybody I'm with wants to sit on the beach. What the hell is this shit? Like, you're in the, like, can I get somewhere? Can I simulate the fucking situation of being lost in the desert, but also surrounded by, like, annoying ethnic families on cheap vacations that are just making tons of noise with kids, like, that they don't care about, just, like, running around kicking sand on you and shit? Can I get that? Can I have that with the sun just beating down on me like a fucking boxer? Just like, basically, if the sun had fists, that's what this was like to me. Just punching me in the fucking chest and the face, and just over and over. I'm like, this is terrible. So we go down to the fucking water. Let me tell you about this shit. I don't know if this is every year. I guess we had kind of a cold spring and stuff going on, and the lake takes a while to heat up. This lake, I'm not shitting you, was the coldest fucking thing I've ever been a part of. I mean, I've lived in Chicago my whole life, been out in the middle of winter in -5 temperatures. I'm not a puss about the fucking cold, but for real, this was a cold ass motherfucking lake. I think somebody looked it up and it was supposed to be 58 degrees. Now that is cold water to go into, dude. So we're out there. First of all, it takes a while to get even like past your knees, and you're all sitting there like, I don't know. But then every guy knows this. You're going into cold water. What's the worst part? The dick part. You got to get past the dick part, and you almost have to plunge before the dick part. Because if you try to ease through the dick part, you're never gonna make it. It's gonna take forever. Easing into the dick part of cold water is like the equivalent of, like, if you have to cut your hand off to get out of handcuffs and you decide to do it with a butter knife, you know? Like, I just need to get it. I can't stand an axe, so I got to use a butter knife. No, that makes no sense. You got to plunge through the dick part. Do girls not know about? I don't know if girls have the vagina part when you're going into cold water. Could leave this in the comments if somebody could clear this up. Do girls have when guys go into cold water, the part where it hits your dick and balls? It's weird. It just is like, it freezes you. It like locks your spine up. You have a hard time getting through it, and your instinct is to jump back. It's just a weird, sensitive, like, holy fuck, this is, then the rest of your body's no problem. You know, after the dick part, you can just dive right in. But I wonder if girls have the vagina part of cold water where that holds you up too. Leave it in the comments, please. Anyways, coldest lake of all fucking time. We swim out to the sandbar, and we're having a great time. I bought some goggles on my way there because, you know, if I'm going to go in this horrible place, I'm going to at least get my money's worth. So I'm diving around and I'm looking, you know, kind of like swimming along the bottom out on the sandbar. And I saw the thing of like that you've only seen in like National Geographic videos and whatever, where you're like, you see the camera view of where the sand, the bottom of the lake, it just drops way the fuck down into deep, dark blueness, you know? And so I'm swimming along the bottom with my goggles, and I can hold my breath okay. Even as a smoker, I can do 45 seconds, you know? And I'm swimming down, and I just see it like all start to drop off, and I kind of got a little bit further than I was comfortable with, and the sheer terror that hit me, I'm not a fucking water person. The sheer terror that hit me was indescribable. I panic swam back like to the top and swam back to the sandbar where my friends were. And apparently you're not supposed to be anywhere near where we were, because this cop pulls up a few minutes later and is yelling through his bullhorn and shit, everybody get back behind the buoys or whatever. When we look, and I guess you're not even supposed to go out more than like 50 feet. We're way the fuck out there, you know. But that view when you're swimming along the bottom, I guess you could do it with a snorkel mask or whatever the fuck, and it just is it's a great view. It's a great what would you call it? Like it just gives you this perspective that you don't normally have, the immense, the vastness of what you're kind of facing as you're swimming on the beach, the power. Everybody's felt like a big wave, I think, at some point, and you just go, holy shit, there's nothing I can do against that, you know? There's the thing just takes, you know, and you just see the vast, deep, dark blue and the mystery and what's out there. And of course, for me, I've been obsessed with sharks for many, many years, since I was a little child, and I have studied the various cases of sharks that have been caught in freshwater. And, you know, my immediate thought as a paranoid fucking lunatic is like, holy shit, I'm getting into shark territory. So I hightailed it back to my pals, and then we swam back into shore with the fucking cop yelling at everybody, hey, you're not supposed to be. Again, wouldn't it have been better in the 70s? Everybody just swim. And by the way, back in the 70s, you just swam in jean shorts, I think. You didn't even really have swimming trunks. Like, if you brought swimming trunks, like, you just swam in the same shit that you sat in the bleachers and wisecracked in, you know, that's what you swam in back in the 70s. And I think also you just threw your cigarette butts on the beach. Actually, while we were there, I asked my loving mother, who, by the way, if anybody feels like giving the old congratulatory comment, she beat cancer. We didn't really talk about it on the show. My mom, a cancer survivor as of recently. We're all glad to be around her and having a great time and stuff. And I asked her, back in the 70s, would the whole beach have been littered by like cigarettes and beer cans? And she was like, oh, yeah, definitely. So it makes me think, you take the good with the bad, right? But it sucks that we can't, because people were so shitty, you know. Man, as an anarchist, sometimes you run into these frustrating moments that you're like, man, they did let us have control, and people were fucking shitty about it. Like, people couldn't be trusted. It's embarrassing, man. You know, back when they weren't patrolling and writing out tickets, people were fucking being shitheads. You know, you'd like to think that this was all a big run, you know, in the control of like parks and beaches and stuff, was like a big you know, run on freedom and a big overstep with the government. But for real, you talk to old people, you know, these places are a lot cleaner than they used to be, because people just are fucking shit, and they wouldn't clean up their shit, and it was so hard to bring a fucking bag to throw their cans in, you know, and whatever. Swimming in jean shorts, not as harmful. Speaking of the way that shit has changed, we pull up, I think it cost us $9, or was it $8? I don't know, whatever it was. And I pull in just to go into the Warren Dunes State Park, to park in the main area, to not, basically you could probably do it for free from 100 other places, but you would have to know where you're going and how to hike in and probably have a longer walk, blah, blah, blah. So we pull in the main place, pay the fucking $8, whatever, and we're going in the parking lot, and I'm looking around, I'm like, there's like 500 cars in here. So you're looking at several $1,000s they took in just there. Who knows for the whole day or the whole week? You know, it's peak tourist season and whatever, but man, these are park districts. This is a government-run facility, and they're charging by the head for people to come in to maintain what? It's a fucking beach. I understand once in a while they probably got to deal with some erosion shit or whatever, but that's mostly to protect property owners. We all know that. People that build giant mansions along the coast and stuff. You know, what are they maintaining? It's a parking lot. It's a shitty building. By the way, the bathrooms were goddamn disgusting at Warren Dunes. Holy fuck. Nobody cleans that shit. These are fucking just horror shows. Like, you can't even change in there. Like I said, I came in my fucking regular Chicago person clothes. I don't know how to go to the beach, and I'm trying to change in this place. There's like piss on the floor and all this shit. I had no idea what to do. I ended up standing on the fucking toilet and, you know, putting my shoes on the floor and changing on the toilet and holding my backpack at the same time and putting my clothes into the backpack, you know, doing this whole thing, and then getting my feet back into my shoes without ever touching the floor because of stupid pissed on dirty ass floor. All I'm saying, they're taking in a few grand a fucking day a lot of the year, and they're not doing shit. There's a parking lot and people to harass you. Is that what we're supposed to be thankful for? Thanks, Michigan Park District or whoever the fuck that place is controlled by. Anyways, it was an okay experience. You know what? All in all, I know it sounds like I didn't have a good time, but I really did. It's good to get out of the house after all. You know, we all need it. We all need some different experiences. Went to town afterwards to this nice little restaurant, me and my gal Darcy, and we had a good meal actually. The place in town there is some trendy little place. Holy fuck, this opens a whole nother conversation. Don't forget I said that. Old Midwestern town going kind of yuppie and trendy. I'm going to come back to that in a minute on the Overdose. Taking a quick break. Old Midwestern towns have a choice to make. Go yuppie or die. Back in a minute. Okay. This is a good fucking song. Artie Shaw, Nightmare. 1938, I think. Something about that mood, right? It's really hard to, for a modern artist to recreate that spookiness. You know, I've heard people sort of try it, but there is something spooky about those old recordings. I went to the last break talking about how Midwest towns have a choice. If you drive around the Midwest, one of the things that you might notice will be there's an amazing disparity, and you hear people talk about how the middle class has been disappearing for years. And I think a lot of the Midwest, Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, northern Missouri, wherever. I don't know if it's better exemplified than in a lot of these places. It's an area of the country where you'll literally see very few towns that are sort of in between, that are just kind of doing all right, that are just sort of blue collar, everything's cool. everybody's okay. Nobody, like, you got these rich communities and these poor communities more and more as the years go on, and there's less and less in between. And the town that I grew up in, it's called Downers Grove, Illinois. Now I live here again, and one thing I've noticed, I didn't come over here for about 8 years or something, and I honestly wouldn't have recognized the place when I got back here. When I was a kid, it was neighborhoods, old houses. You know, it had probably gone through several economic phases. You know, it probably was kind of a rich place at one point. It looks like there's a lot of these old houses that look like, man, if you built this place in 1890, you had to be rich as fuck, you know. And it's one of these places where maybe somebody who had made their fortune in the city or in farming or somewhere would find this little quiet community or town to build this mansion and sort of live the good life. You know, I think it went through that phase in the 20s and 30s or something like that. And then through maybe the 50s into the 80s and 90s, it was more of just sort of like a middle-class family place, whatever. Guy's got a mechanic shop, guy works downtown, even somebody that waits tables or bartends or something could maybe have a house and kind of get by around here. You know, it was kind of a middle-of-the-road sort of place. And now, when I got back here, it looks like some, like, weird fake fancy place with like 18 yoga shops and a bunch of cigar places and you know, like little kind of boutique-y places. I don't know how half of these places stay in, but there's a place down there that sells yarn. I don't know what the fuck is going on out here. I would think they were organized crime fronts if this town wasn't so fucking kind of vanilla and lame, you know. I mean, I don't understand how this stuff is sustained, you know, but it's become very boutique-y and yuppie-ish and blah, blah, blah. And then as I've driven around the Midwest, I've noticed, man, there's these places and there's those places. What are those places? Those are the places where industry dried up and city councils maybe weren't motivated or productive, and a lot of people who were old money decided to sell their land for cheap and fucking bail and go out to retire in California or Florida or some shit. And these places were just basically left to rubble. And as the more and more I explore the Midwest, the more I believe, seriously, there were these two choices for most towns in the Midwest. Either you go annoyingly yuppie or you die and become a methy fucking shithole. I mean, think about it. The industry that all these places were built on. I mean, the town that I'm in right now was built on the rail industry. And obviously that is a small fraction of what it was when the town was built. But, you know, for whatever reason, they were able to figure out how to maintain property values by attracting people who had jobs in the modern era that made sense. And a lot of people commute downtown. A lot of people do tech jobs. A lot of people do this and that, and they've made it work. Now, a lot of other small towns that probably were about the exact same fucking thing as my town when I grew up. You know, when I drive around and look at these places, they are ruined, terrible places, I guess, for lack of planning or lack of fortunistic circumstance. I'm not sure. So it can kind of annoy you, you know, and that's what we had. I started talking about outside of Warren Dunes, whatever the fucking town is, I think it's Bridgman or some shit like that. You know, we're driving around and we're like, you know, this place was historic and cool, but now look, it's going all yuppie and stuff. And I was reminded, like, look, this was probably their only choice or they would die, you know, and we're driving around looking for like an authentic kind of rural diner or some barbecue or some shit. And everything is like the rock and roll tap house and like the fucking every sport on 900 TVs bar. And if you did find a diner, it was like Aunt Rita's very specific boutique home cooking, you know, like all this fake ass shit. So we remarked on that. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It's sad. The original culture of a lot of these towns is gone, but, you know, there was no saving it a lot of times. They had to do this. They had to turn this way. They had to attract new money. They had to attract people with the money to come out and buy some McMansions and spend money in these places, or else these places were fucking dead, dude. They had to. So we settled for this place. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to look this place up because it was pretty good. I'll give them a little shout out. Hold on. I'm pulling up the map. Yeah. Okay. It's this one. Lake Street Eats. Okay. Lake Street in Bridgman, Minnesota. Just giving them a shout out for the fuck of it. Good food at this place. It was a fun place to go. Kind of hipstery, whatever. It was good, whatever. They had gluten-free pizza, which, if anybody is a attentive listener, they'll have noticed I'm a gluten-free person. By the way, what has it been? Shit, 17 years, motherfuckers, gluten-free. See, I didn't do it as some like health trend. I did it because literally, as an 18-year-old kid, I couldn't take a shit. Do you understand me? I couldn't fucking shit sometimes for 3 days at a fucking time. Hold on, this stupid phone. Okay, hold on. Let's go back to the earthling because he's calling me back. Let's see what he's got to say, if there's anything interesting.
Hey,
yeah, what happened?
I just couldn't remember what fucking room these fools were in. They fucking G'd all their shit. So I started pounding on fucking doors, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought that was a really bad idea when a couple of angry people answered. Because I was like, come on, just tell me which one. I'm like, I don't remember. And like, she's like, this stupid. You know?
Sure.
Yeah. So then I was like, going up? I'm like, okay, let's go. I was like, let's take a walk down each hallway. Maybe jog your memory.
Dude, you are terrible at telling stories. Fucking horrible. Like, this is ridiculous. Like,
what are you talking about? That's what happened.
You're horrible at telling stories. It's not engaging at all. It sucks. Like, what happened?
Wait, are you recording me?
Yeah, dude. What do you do? Like,
you know, I was just talking to you straight up, bro.
Dude, still, even just for a normal phone call, this fucking blows. Like, what's the story? Like,
the broad, I had to go find the dude that fucking just burned all her shit, and this broad's fucking wandering around like an idiot, can't remember which room she was in. So I was like, let's walk up and down the stairs, down the halls to jog your memory. Any familiarity or anything like that? So then she's like, that one. I knock on it. It's like some other person. I was like, dude, Tanya, you need to fucking come correct. I need to fucking bust this guy's head open if he stole her shit. Then I knock on another door, and it's like not him either. It was, I don't know. That's what the fuck happened.
Okay, well,
and then,
she clearly fucking took all the money for herself and hid it somewhere and made up a story. I gotta go. Okay, I'll call you back. All right, listen. I didn't do it for a fucking health trend. I couldn't shit all the time when I was 18. I went to a doctor when I was 19 who later turned out to be a pedophile. By the way, that guy's name was McMiniman. If you look up just McMiniman, I think that was his name, right? I had a bad feeling about this guy when I went and met him and had a fucking what do they call it? Doctor's visit about how I couldn't fucking shit. He's asking me all these questions about, like, what's your sleep schedule? What do you eat? And I'm like a 19-year-old, like, acid dealer, you know? The reality is crazy for me. I'm like, schedule? What? No, that's not a thing. Like, I'm trying to answer these questions. And he's like, well, I don't know how to fucking tell you if you can't tell me. I'm like, dude, I don't know. He's like, look, just try laying off wheat. Come back in 2 weeks and let me know what's going on. So I did that, and my life has been great ever since. Not really, but in terms of taking shits, it's been pretty awesome. I've learned to just eat like natural meats and vegetables and stuff, and I shit all awesome all the time. If I were to eat a hamburger bun, I'd have problems for 2 fucking days, I'm telling you. This is not a thing I do by choice. I hate these fucking people. I didn't hear about gluten allergies 20 years ago. Yeah, well, do you know why that is? Did you ever bother to take 2 fucking seconds to figure it out? Because it's not the people that are changing. It's the food, motherfucker. That's why you didn't hear about it 20, 30 years ago. That's why. It's not because everybody just fucking decided. I just woke up one day and decided, you know what I would like? Not to be able to eat fucking anything. You know, I was 19 years old from Chicago, and I woke up and decided I didn't want fucking pizza or Italian beef sandwiches anymore. You fucking retards. No, dude, it's not made up. It's not fucking stupid bullshit new age health crap. It's the fact that fucking wheat is not a naturally occurring plant on the planet. It's a crossbreed of like 8 different ancient grains. That's even a brand of like health food or whatever, ancient grains. Look it up, whatever. It's all these spelt and all this other shit and whatever, and they bred it together, the Sumerians, to make a stronger crop. You know, they started this, and it's been crossbred and fucked with for goddamn who knows how long. Who knows? You know, I'm thinking it starts with the Sumerians. That's what I'm saying. In that year, which we all know when they were. So what changes is the genetic structure of the wheat, and your body is set up with certain enzymes to digest what it identifies as food. And if the enzymes, which have chemical structures that are solvents that break down, you know, other things that are supposed to be food, they latch onto something and go, no, this is not food. And they don't know what to do with it. So it just sits in there. And it fucking, do you know what it feels like? It feels like you itch inside of your body and there's nothing you can do. Like you seriously want to like stick a back scratcher down your throat or up your fucking ass and scratch inside of yourself. Like, it's ridiculous. It's so uncomfortable for people who are gluten intolerant. Don't sit there and go, oh, I never heard of this shit. You're just, no, dude, you're an idiot. This shit is terrible. And guess what? My only fucking comfort in this whole thing is that all of you, every single person within 30 years is going to experience it, because that's all you got. Every year, an exponentially higher number of people are intolerant of the current genetic structure of wheat and gluten, and you'll all go down. You'll all burn in fucking hell. Fuck you. I've been doing it for 17 years. When I started not eating wheat, there was nothing out there. Gluten-free bread was hilarious. It was like the consistency of like a thick graham cracker or something. It would crumble, you know. You're like, what the fuck is this? It's made of just like rice and shit. Like, you know, now they got all kinds of shit. It's great. You can get anything. But I've been doing this a goddamn long time, and fuck you if you think it's a trend. It is not. It is not a trend. In this little tiny yuppie restaurant, as I said, we were originally disappointed. Like, man, this is so inauthentic, this old town. But this is what's happening, man. They're gone. They're all gone. Just the same way as I find old 1700s ruins out in the woods where I explore all the goddamn time. There's nothing left of those societies. There's going to be nothing left of the ones that our grandparents left to us either, very soon. And speaking of which, the giant building that is being constructed 20 feet outside my window is, what is it? It's about 7:05 a.m. The construction workers are just showing up. I live in probably what was previously one of the tallest buildings. It's 3 stories in this town. Previous to this building, I'm in one of the taller ones around here, and this monstrosity is fucking 6 stories high, and it wraps around the entire corner of this whole block. I don't know, it might be 200 units or something. It is fucking giant, and they're just showing up and they're starting to run their machines, and it's about to get very noisy, so I got to get out of here. I'll leave you with one little piece of historical perspective, though. What I find interesting is I was imagining, you know, I've seen this building that I'm living in was built in 1940, and I look up pictures of Downers Grove, Illinois, my hometown here, and where I am again. In the 20s, it was literally what I would think of as a one-horse town. That old saying, you see pictures and it's just a few carriages, little shacks, you know, a little farming village is all it was. When they built this building, I'm guaranteeing you some of the people around here thought, man, this place is going Hollywood. The place that I'm in, which is now, whatever, 75 years old, I'm guarantee you some people didn't like to see this place go up. And now it's the old building that the guy wouldn't sell when the new building is going up and they're wrapping around us and choking us out. Little historical perspective, because in 100 years, the people that live in this place that's going up, they're going to protest the 12-story building. So what does it all mean? You know? The history here ended up meaning something. Maybe the history next door will end up meaning something. We can only hope. And that's the Overdose. Good night to you, my friends, and my fellow insomniacs. R.I.P. to Art Bell. Good night.